100% deserve to change for yourself. Yes, you do. You deserve that. See, here's the thing. For a long time, oh my God, like I think we all do this when we're in an unhealed state, but also still trying to look for validation, right? I lived it years ago. Most people are going to live it unless they had some life growing up that was like ideal, which I got to tell you, that's very limited. That's like a 1%. It's sad, but it's true. And so you go through just trying to fly under that radar, right? You're just trying to go under the radar, just being like, you know what? I don't want to have the conflict. I just want you to be happy and I want you to love me. And so we go through all of that. In turn, that person starts to mold you. They're sitting and they're taking you like you are a ceramic and they're molding you to be the person that they want you to be. And you're like, okay, let me tell you what happens. And this, I'm telling you, this happens for just about everybody. For my clients, for me, this, at some point, this is going to happen and you're going to get to the point where you're like, oh my God, I don't know who I am. So you keep jumping through this hoop, jumping through that hoop. And then you realize everybody's still living their best life without you, right? Like they're like, okay, I mean, if you want to come along, come along. And then you're like, well, I mean, then I don't know who I want to be. Like, you don't know who you want to be. You might not know what your hobbies are. You might not know who you love. You might not know what your favorite food is. You know what I mean? So you're going through this and then you start to find yourself in misalignment, even though you have been for many, many years. But you find yourself in misalignment to where you are just tired. You are just done. You are finished. Okay. And then you go, oh my God, then now what? So you know you're done and you know you don't want to live for them. You're aware of this, but you don't know how to do that. So then that becomes overwhelming. And that's why if you're watching this or you've listened to the podcast or if we do sessions together, or you're doing sessions with anybody, you're going to start to understand that you're allowed to do this. You are allowed to change and you're allowed to figure out who you want to be. Here's the deal. We already know not everybody's going to like that. They may threaten to leave you. We'll let them. That is one less thing you got to get rid of on your own. They will do that for you. Your issue comes when you're afraid to let go of that because there's a push-pull, right? You want to change. You want to feel better on your terms, right? So you want to feel better, but you want to feel better on your terms. And it just is not going to work that way. That is not how it works because you can't have both things. You can't say you want to change, but then you want to keep things the same. It's not going to be effective nor beneficial to you to do that. It's scary, but it's scarier to stay in the same, not change. It's not scarier to change. It's scarier to stay. Because if you're not happy, which is relative anyway, subjective, if you're not happy and you don't know who you are, you're going to be 87 years old going, I have no idea what my life was. So how do you do that? Well, number one is you got to figure out who you don't want to be anymore. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to do those things. I don't want to, achieve this for them. I don't want to. I want to figure out who I am. So to know who you are is going to be to know who you're not, to know who and what you don't want to be. And when you get clear in that, at least it moves some of this stuff. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're going to know who you are. But that's where I just said this to a client of mine. Go into Michael's. I don't know if you have Michael's in your country, but go into a craft store, right? If you're here in the States, go into Michael's. Go in with no preconceived notion and just go in. You may be called to paint. You may be called to latch hook. You may be called to decorate flowers. Who knows? But give yourself the opportunity to try things. And remember, you're not supposed to hit it out the park. You're going to suck in the beginning and you're supposed to. You want to. You really want to. Give it time. Maybe you go for walks. Maybe you say, you know what? I'm going to start yoga. Maybe you go to a sauna. Maybe you do things that are absolutely free. Like I said, like hiking, like walking. Do it for you. Make the time. Everybody has 365 days, well, hopefully, and 52 weeks and 24 hours in the day. Of course, I was a single mom. That becomes more problematic for time, but you got to piece it in because you matter. You matter. And finding out who you are becomes this amazing tool for the foundation of what you will and will not tolerate. What does that mean? Is now your boundaries become clearer, right? Do you see how like working on you is going to be a domino effect? It really is. So you're going to be like, oh, well, I don't necessarily want to spend time with those people because they don't bring out the best in me. Oh my God, look, you just created a boundary. Again, nobody said you're going to hit it out the park and be like, oh my God, this is no problem. But you got to push through the guilt, the fear of being the villain, the fear of them leaving you. Like, go, bye. So you have to understand, if somebody doesn't want your best and highest good, even if they're not going to be with you, then they're not for you. They are not for you. If someone does not want you to grow, does not want the best for you, they are not for you. And I mean, even if they have to take a back seat, sometimes people have to eliminate your presence in their life for their best and highest good for them. That doesn't mean that you can't still cheer them on, and vice versa. That's where the ego comes into play, right? You have to remember that people are largely allowed to do whatever it is that they want to do. And maybe they do have to distance for you on your growth journey, but they can still cheer you on and want the best for you. See, wanting the worst for somebody does not make you healthy. It doesn't heal you. Wanting someone to crumble and break does not heal you. Stop thinking that. Stop thinking that if you let that go, somehow or another, you're permitting it. You're not. You're freeing yourself up. What does that mean? You free yourself up in space. You now have an opportunity to receive abundance. See, you can't fill and fill and fill and fill and fill and fill and then go, okay, all of this is negative right here, and this little bit is where you want the positive. There's no space for that. You're going to have to pour some of this out. Preferably all of it out. But in the beginning, you just have to pour a little bit of it out so you can fill this part up. So you got to remove in order to fill, right? Remove, fill. Don't say it's hard. It's supposed to be hard, but it's harder to stay. It's harder to stay because then you're in that loop of insecurity, fear of them abandoning you, and attachment. How is that not harder? That is harder. The unknown is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. Beautiful place, because it will always 100%, 1000% work out. Doesn't always work out how you want it to, and it may work out by going, oh, that was a disaster. Don't do that again. That's working out. But you got to remove without the fear of, oh my God, what happens? Good. Let this be open for a while. Maybe you need to clean it out. Maybe you need to dust it. Maybe you need to vacuum all that crap out of there. So that means maybe you got to be by yourself for a while, and that's okay. Because if you're not good in solitude, you're not going to be good for everybody else. Because again, you're just going to change this for this. That's why you want to heal in between relationships, right? You can't bring your drama from this relationship into this relationship because this relationship isn't there to make up for this. So you have to realize that you are allowed to take those paths and allow yourself to forge forward. You're allowed that. So give yourself permission for that right now to discover who you want to be. What is it that you want around you to surround you? People, places, things, situations. Because you can't grow in a toxic environment. Sometimes you're kind of stuck there. But if you know that you have a plan to get out, those moments become less problematic and more tolerable because you know it's a temporary situation. Because in a toxic environment, it's going to be hard not to keep filling that stupid little cup, right? The cup's great, but it becomes so stupid to do this because, not because you're stupid, but because this negativity keeps filling and filling and filling. And you're like, why am I doing this to myself? So embrace the unknown, embrace that discomfort for the fact that you know that's a long-term gratification gain. That is a long-term gain. And you deserve that long-term gain. You do. You deserve that. So don't let anybody get in your head to tell you what a horrible person you are for changing. A butterfly only changes when it's ready, and a butterfly goes into a chrysalis alone. There's not a bunch of butterflies in there. There's not a bunch of caterpillars in there together. It's a party. Nah, they're by themselves. And they go from being this caterpillar, which often is pretty, to even being better as a butterfly. So you got to channel your butterfly energy because you deserve it. It's okay to not know where to begin, but start removing things and start saying, what is it that I don't want? Because then you at least eliminate a bunch of that stress. So that is how you're going to start your journey to your greatness, baby.